Welcome back to my shop in Vermont, where we continue to be dedicated to making wood smaller. Today I'm going to go through how to do a soapstone bowl, which looks sort of like an Eskimo artifact. It's 5 inches in diameter and 1.5 inches deep. I'm going to go over procuring and prepping the stock, and that'll take part of my time here. I want to say viewer encouragement in the comments is a big part of why I've gotten activated to do this again. Where I get soapstone, my favorite place is by finding old sinks, old laundry sinks. You can get them on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. If you look for soapstone, they are very heavy, but they're bolted together. This is a sample sheet from one of those laundry sinks. This is over 1.5 inches thick. I like to get it like this. It's a full 1.5 inches thick. This is actually less. This is about 1.25 inches. And I want to go over how to lay out your product. These are different things you can do with soapstone. This is a candlestick with a stone mount. This is a stone rolling pin, which I've put a video up previously. So, soapstone sands very fast. It's very easy to mark. It doesn't require any drying or prepping. But bear in mind, some soapstones do not turn well at all. This here is a sample, and you can tell it's very difficult to mark it with your fingernail. But this soapstone easily marks with your fingernail. So the sinks are heavy. They come apart with bolts that you have to dig out, or you can bust them apart and lose part of your product. I lay them out with a straight edge. These guys are good for rolling pins. This guy is a very useful tool. One of my students gave me, and I can lay out different circles using this by just holding that in the center and drawing a circle like that. It works best to scratch it. And once you get that far, you can take it to a bandsaw. My saw blades are usually rejects that maybe I hit a nail with. Anyway, before I throw them out, I dedicate them to use with soapstone. And here's a 1.5 inch section that will make one of those bowls. And I'll saw it out. Takes very little pressure. The sparks you see are the pyrite crystals. Whenever it hits one of those, a tiny cubic crystal, fool's gold, and that dulls the blade, but the blade's kind of on its way out anyway. So you get your blank, and you'll find it sands very easily. So when you've gotten that far, we want to mount it to the lathe somehow, and I have homed in on using double stick tape. It didn't work at first because I tried gluing to the stone itself. It's like trying to glue a bar of soap to your faceplate. But what I found does work is a coat of spray lacquer. I'll put 2 coats on, and when that dries, this tape really does stick tightly. And so we'll give that time to set up. Okay, I'm back. 2 coats of lacquer are on here. They're good and dry. I don't recommend you try it without the lacquer. You're risking your life. So I'm going to make a little target for my faceplate just by scratching a circle here. I've got a scrap block on the faceplate, double stick tape. I've left a gap here because that will help solvent go down in there when it's ready to come off. Make sure the dust is off here. Set it carefully down there. And then I give it a squeeze just for good measure for just a minute or 2 before I bring it over to the lathe. One note on the searching for a laundry sink. Some people charge like $800 for antique value. Others want $0. They just want it out. And you're doing well if you find one nearby. You don't have to travel a couple 100 miles for. The next step is to mount it on the lathe after it's been squoze a bit in the vise. And there's any tool you put against this is going to deform it. So I recommend you do this little trick by drilling a hole in it and putting in a dowel for your cup center to bear on. I've pre-marked it. It's going down to about a 1/4 inch from the bottom and will serve as a marker for when I'm deep enough. This is a 1/2 inch hole, and cup center is better than that, and so the whole thing is acts as a compression chuck to help ensure that the thing doesn't come off when you want it to stay on. Now you pretty much treat this like a piece of wood, but you use only scrapers. And I use this carbide tip for the whole thing. I get it on Etsy for $35 without the handle. And it comes with a Allen wrench and works good. So it's just a matter of feeding it in and shaping it however you want it shaped. Sharpening it does help, but it's not necessary. It's just blind pushing it in. There's no grain to worry about. No end grain, no nothing. So I'll get started here. I use low speeds, probably not over 700. Start by trimming it up. So most of this dust just drops on the floor. It's so big. When you start sanding, I recommend a dust mask, and also inspect it carefully for any cracks and reject it if you see anything that looks like a crack. So I'm going to start finishing off this thing. time to mask up here. There are no finishing cuts per se. Any marks come out very fast. I'm starting with 80 grit. I can even shape it with this paper. This has been sanded up from 80 grit up through 600. Use the 80 grit to remove any tool scratches. It will come off very fast. I'm going to release the compression and work on the center, the inside now. And at this point, see if you can push it off that double stick tape. There is no movement whatsoever here, so I'm not a bit worried. I'll finish sanding that and then come back. So I'm putting lacquer thinner down here on this tape to loosen it. I'm a little afraid if I pry it off, I'll leave the bottom of the bowl stuck to this wood block. And I'm adding extra to the place in the tape where we left a gap. So I've added a couple of scores in the bowl, scratches for decoration, and put a coat of lacquer on the outside and then removed it from the faceplate. The double stick tape is super tough. You need to leak lacquer thinner down behind it and leave it for 15 minutes or half an hour, pulling very gently on it as it loosens. Don't use chisels or impacts. That works on wood, but on a bowl, bad things happen. Things like this. So, good luck with the soapstone. Thanks for watching. We're here making stones smaller as well as wood. Thank you.